You have done the maths 100 times and it still doesn't add up. That isn't a math problem. It's a pattern one the wealthy stopped repeating years ago while you were still calling it bad luck. You've been taught that wealth is a secret that's somewhere behind a closed door. There's a formula the rich guard carefully, a code they refuse to share. It's a comforting story because it means your position isn't your fault. If the information is hidden, you can't be blamed for not having it. But the information was never hidden. It was ignored because acknowledging it would mean admitting something harder to face, that the gap between you and wealth was never about access. It was about attention. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries before behavioral economists gave it a name. He observed that people are ruined less often by their enemies than by the comfortable illusions they refuse to abandon. Wealth follows the same law. The people who accumulate it aren't smarter. They've simply stopped protecting the illusions that feel good and started noticing what's actually in front of them. This isn't just philosophy. Research on decision fatigue and present bias shows something almost embarrassing in its simplicity. Most financial choices aren't made through ignorance. They're made through the mind's preference for immediate comfort over long-term clarity. Behavioral economists call this hyperbolic discounting, the tendency to choose a smaller reward now over a larger one later, even when you know better in the moment you're choosing. You don't lack information. You are, every single day, competing against your own nervous system's need to feel safe right now. And your nervous system usually wins, quietly, without ever asking your permission. So let's look at what's actually been sitting in plain sight the entire time. Call the first one the comfort tax. You've built a life engineered around avoiding discomfort, the safe job you've quietly outgrown, the routine that asks nothing new of you, the spending that soothes a hard week before you've even let yourself process why the week was hard. None of it feels reckless. That's exactly what makes it dangerous. Every time you choose the version of your day that costs you the least emotional friction, you are financing, quietly and consistently, a future that looks exactly like your present. The wealthy don't feel less discomfort than you do. They've simply stopped mistaking comfort for safety. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is being paid for, every day, in small avoidances you don't even notice you're making, and the bill never stops arriving. Then there's the applause trap. You have been rewarded your whole life for looking capable, for the job title, the car, the appearance of having it together in front of the people whose opinion you've never questioned. That approval feels like progress. It isn't. Visibility and wealth operate on almost opposite logic. The version of you that performs success in front of others is rarely the version quietly building it behind the scenes. The wealthy tend to look, from the outside, far less impressive than you'd expect, because the resources that would fund the appearance are instead funding the position. What you've been calling doing well might only ever be doing well in front of people. And the two were never the same thing, no matter how long you've let yourself believe they were. The third pattern is the certainty illusion. You've been waiting for the moment when a decision feels completely safe before you act on it. The right time to invest, to negotiate, to finally leave the job that's been quietly draining you for years. That moment does not arrive. It was never going to. Certainty isn't something you find. It's something you manufacture afterward, once a decision has already paid off and hindsight has made it look obvious. Machiavelli saw this clearly too. Fortune favors those willing to act before conditions are perfect, because those who wait for safety are ultimately governed by chance rather than choice. Every year you spend waiting for certainty is a year you've handed control to circumstance instead of claiming it for yourself. Here is the part most people won't say out loud, so I will. You already know this. Some version of every insight in this video has crossed your mind before, in a quiet moment, in a flash of frustration, in the space right before sleep when the noise of the day finally goes silent and there's nothing left to distract you. You didn't miss this information. You suppressed it, because acting on it would mean confronting how much of your current life was built on avoidance rather than intention. That recognition is uncomfortable. It's also the only real starting point that has ever mattered, and you've just given yourself one. The fourth pattern is the borrowed identity. Somewhere early, you inherited a definition of success that was never yours to begin with, from family, from culture, from whoever raised you, and whatever they were afraid of losing. You've spent years optimizing your life for a version of enough that was handed to you, not chosen by you. The wealthy tend to interrogate this early and without mercy. They ask, often uncomfortably, whether the goal they're chasing is actually theirs, or simply the safest thing available to imitate. Until you separate your ambition from your inheritance, you will keep spending resources, money, time, energy, defending a life someone else designed for you, and quietly calling it your own. The fifth pattern is the silence advantage. Wealth, in its early and most fragile stages, is almost always built quietly. Not because secrecy is required, but because premature exposure invites premature judgment from others, and worse, from yourself, in the moments when your own doubt is loudest. Machiavelli warned that a plan spoken too soon gathers enemies before it gathers strength. Every time you explain an ambition before it's real, you trade momentum for approval you didn't need in the first place. The version of you building something durable rarely needs anyone else to know yet. That instinct to explain yourself, to justify the risk before you've even taken it, that isn't honesty. That's fear, wearing the costume of transparency. You don't need 5 new financial habits. You need to notice which of these patterns has been quietly running your decisions without ever asking for your permission. If even one of them landed, don't scroll past it. Sit with it the way you sat with that unresolved maths, except this time, stay in the discomfort long enough to actually look at it. There's a version of you already forming on the other side of this, someone who stops mistaking comfort for safety, who stops performing success for people who were never paying that close attention anyway. That person doesn't need convincing to come back and finish the thought. If you're already becoming them, you'll know it, and you won't need reminding. Nothing about wealth was ever hidden from you. What was hidden was your willingness to look directly at your own patterns without flinching. That's no longer true. You've already started, and the people who quietly build the lives everyone else envies were never the ones with secret information. They were only ever the ones willing to stop looking away.